All right. Hello, class. If you're starting with this video, you might want to stop and go and watch the other video. Um, it doesn't matter, but there might be some information in the first video that you might find helpful. Anyways, so we're going to go on to grammar, simple past versus present perfect. Um, while you're watching this video, you might notice that this is a lesson designed for groups. So if you want, it might be a good idea to watch this video with another student or with a couple other students. Anyways, we're going to treat this video like it's the same as being in class. So just try to follow along as best as you can. All right. So to start, you and your partners, if you have partners with you, needs to write one sentence on two different pieces of paper. So two sentences total. And these are about actions you did this month. So one sentence should be an action that you did only once, and one sentence should be about an action that you may do again. And when you are finished writing all of these actions, fold them and put them in the middle of the table. And just to be clear, an action that you did once would be something like this first action. Jamey watched a movie at CGV. Uh, the wait a second, sorry. The action you may do again would be like this second action. Jamey ate fruit for for several breakfasts, right? So because I eat breakfast every day, that's probably something I may do again. I may eat fruit again for breakfast. So take a minute and try to come up with these two sentences about yourself. Okay. Okay, that's probably about enough time. So now, with your partners, you need to do rock, scissors, paper, and the winner is the first student, and the first student needs to pick a paper and read it to the group. Then you must choose if the action was done once or maybe done again. And if you are correct, you keep the paper, and by keeping a paper, you get 1 point. If you are wrong, you put the paper back in the middle of the table. So I'll give you a few minutes to do this with your partner. Try to play for, let's say, 2 minutes. Okay, that's about enough time. If you want to keep playing, of course, you can pause the video and play with your partners some more. Um, Hopefully, you got a few answers correct. If you didn't, that's okay. Uh, I will explain. So, looking at the example sentences that I made, Jamie watched a movie at CGV. So that happened once this month. And Jamie ate fruit for several breakfasts. That happened many times, right? Do we watch movies at CGV every day or regularly? Okay, so the answer is obviously no, not every day, right? We don't do it. Well, most people don't watch movies at CGV every day. That's very expensive, and there's not enough movies. So if you do, you're very lucky, but I don't. Do we eat breakfast every day or regularly? Obviously, yes. I mean, most people, yes, we would say eat breakfast every day. If you don't, maybe you're on some kind of diet, but most people eat breakfast every day. So we can say yes to that question. So when we want to show that an event is completely finished, we do this by using the simple past verbs. So, like, for example, watched, ate, broke, took, had, made, stuff like that. So simple past verbs are very helpful in making it clearer that the event is completely finished. It's not going to continue, or it's not going to be something that happens regularly. We can also, however, sometimes we want to show people that a finished event may start again, or may continue, or may happen again. And to do this, we should use the present perfect. So present perfect is any kind of, it's sort of a verb phrase. It has or have plus a PP or past participle. So has eaten, has broken, has taken, have fallen, anything like that. Um, of course, these are irregular verbs. We could say has watched, and that would also be PP. But anyways, these present perfect verbs show that eating breakfast, in this case, will happen many times or may continue to happen. So, one way to think about this, or one sort of hint to look for in a sentence, uh, when we have to decide, are we going to use the present perfect or are we going to use the simple past? We can look at the object. In this case, it's actually fruit, but fruit is not countable, right? Or we don't use the word fruits. So then we look further and it says for several breakfasts. So when the object or the object clause is more than one, that's a good sign, or that's a good hint that we're going to want to use the present perfect, the has or have plus the PP. Okay, so just always look for the object like this that has more than one. So we'll actually practice that right now. So what I'm going to ask you to do is read the sentences. I'm going to put sentences on the screen here. And if you have a partner or other students with you, talk to your group and decide if the action is should be a simple past verb, something that finished completely, or a present perfect verb, something that may continue or may happen again. All right. So, for example, Jamie taught English classes or Jamie has taught English classes. Well, we have a hint here with classes. So the object is many. It's happens many times. So we're going to use the present perfect, right? Because classes is more than one, right? All right, so now it's your turn. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to read this and pick which answer is correct, studied or have studied. Okay, so let's go ahead and check. And the answer is studied. And we can tell it's studied because there's only one final exam. It's not in this sentence, at least. There's only one final exam. If we said study, if it was their final exams, it would be have studied, or it should be have studied. Okay, let's try this one. Spider-Man survived, or Spider-Man has survived battles against many villains. So I'll give you 30 seconds. Okay, the answer is has survived. And the hint here, this is a better example. The object is battles, right? Spider-Man has survived battles. So this is more than one. So it's most likely it's better to use the present perfect. That's more common. That's more correct. How about this one? My roommate cooked, my roommate has cooked a horrible meal. I'll give you 30 seconds. Okay, so the correct answer is cooked, right? Because it's only one meal, right? So we're gonna use the simple past here. All right, so let's do another activity. Hopefully, you're watching this video with a group. So again, with two pieces of paper, each student needs to write one sentence on each piece of paper about actions you did this month. But this time, don't use your name. I will show you what I mean by that in just a second here. One sentence should be about an action and the date it happened. So you want to use like a Monday or January 24th or something like that. And one sentence should be about an action. Oh, this should say that doesn't have a date, or yeah, I wrote this wrong. It should say that doesn't have a date. Um, so after you've done that, fold all the papers and put them in the middle of the table. All right, so we can take a look at my examples here. As I said, don't use your name. So you're going to want to use something like I, right? Because you're not using your name. So I fell asleep watching TV on Sunday, May 5th. And in this example, I use Sunday, May 5th. I could just say I fell asleep watching TV on Sunday, or I fell asleep watching TV on May 5th. Both are fine. I could say last week, 2 days ago, something like that, just to make it uh, make some kind of time phrase, all right? And then the second sentence just says, I visited a few beaches with my friends. So again, that doesn't have a date, all right? So you fold up all your papers once you've made your sentences and put them in the middle. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to write these sentences. I'm sorry about the noise, class. If you're hearing those barking sounds, those are my dogs. I'm sure they'll quiet down soon. Okay, so let's go ahead and go on. So now, if you are doing this with, if you're watching this video with a group or some partners, go ahead and do rock, scissors, paper. And the first student will, or the winner, picks a paper and reads it to the group. Then the winner, or the first student, chooses who did the action. That's why we don't write the person's name. We don't write our names. We write I. Okay. If if you are correct, or if he or she is correct, he or she keeps the paper for 1 point. If he or she is wrong, he or she puts it back in the middle of the table, and then the next student goes. Okay. So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to do this with your partners. All right, class. So hopefully you got some points, and hopefully you guessed right a few times. If you didn't, that's okay. It was just supposed to be a little fun activity to help us think about the grammar. All right. So take a look at these two sentences. Which event only happened once? Okay. So let's check your answer. Sentence one. If you guessed sentence one, excellent. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Which event happened many times? Okay, let's check your answer. Sentence two. Wow, amazing. All right, so let's continue on. Um, so we can show people that an event has completely finished at an exact time by using the simple past verbs. So simple past is very helpful for explaining exactly the date or time when something finished. Um, but when we want to explain that an event happened, or many events happened in the past, uh, uh, we want to use the present perfect. It's better to use the present perfect. So I have visited a few beaches with my friends. So again, present perfect is still just the has or have plus the PP, right? So in this case, I have visited a few beaches with my friends, and as we can see, oops, as we can see, it is more common to use the present perfect with events that happened more than once, right? So always look for events that happen more than once and don't have an exact time. So basically, when the event has an exact time, just think simple past, okay? You see a date, time word, it's usually going to be simple past, okay? All right. So another activity for you. So here's what you do: read the sentences, and then if you have partners, talk to your partners. Decide if the action should be simple past. So if it finished at an exact time, it should be simple past, or a present perfect verb, which means that the many events happened in the past. So, for example, Jamey finished or Jamey has finished his class early today. Well, the hint here is the word today, and so the answer would be finished. So this only happened, this had happened at an exact time, which was today. Okay? All right. Let's go on to the next one. All right. So take a look at this sentence. Our boss left or our boss has left early every day. So I'll give you 30 seconds to think about this. Okay, so the answer is has left. And the hint here was every day. So many events happened, right? All right, so let's go on to the next one. My classmates shared, or my classmates have shared snacks during our breaks. So 30 seconds. Okay, so the correct answer is have shared. So the hint here was breaks, right? So we have to think about the events. Don't don't look at snacks. Snacks doesn't really help us understand if the events happen many times. So it was during our breaks. So there were many breaks. Okay. Next one. So some actors and actresses donated or have donated money to UNICEF last week. So take a look at this, and I'll give you 30 seconds. Okay, so the answer is donated, and the hint here was last week. Last week's not exactly an exact time, but this is more. Uh, this is clearly not many events. It really only happened over. It really only happened at one period of time. So last week is one period of time. So it would be better to use the simple past, not the present perfect. Um, anyways, let's go ahead and continue. So often, when we are looking at time expressions like last, ago, in, or on, or other time expressions like for and since, um, when we use these with simple past, we often can use these time expressions with simple past verbs and present perfect verbs. And rather than me telling you which time expressions go with which verb tense, what I'm going to ask you to do is uh, read these sentences, one, two, three, four here. Read these sentences and decide which time expressions to use in the blanks. So I'll give you 30 seconds for the first question. So Jamie came to Korea blank 2009. What should this be? Okay, so let's check. Jamie came to Korea in 2009. All right, so if you got that, good job. If not, don't worry. I'll give you a little rule here in just a second. So let's move on to the next. Excuse me. Let's move on to sentence two. He has lived in Ilsan blank 2 years. So take a moment, try to guess what this answer is. I'll give you about 30 seconds. All right. He has lived in Ilsan for 2 years. So usually we use for with an amount like 2 years, 10 days, 20 years, 2 hours, something like that. Third sentence. He hasn't moved apartments blank 2017. Okay, let's go ahead and check. Since 2017. So usually with since, it's usually some date like since January, since yesterday, uh, uh, since 2001, something like that. Okay. Last sentence. 10 years blank. He worked at a news station, a TV news station in Alaska. So what one would this be? Okay, so the answer is ago. So the rule is that usually last, ago, in, on, these time expressions will be used with the simple past. And for instance are usually used with the present perfect verbs. So it says usually because it's not always true. We can sometimes change it, right? So sometimes we can use the present perfect with these. Sometimes we can use simple past. But most of the time, you'll use the present. You'll use the time expressions for and since with the present perfect. This one right here. This is probably the most important thing you need to know. Just always try to remember present perfect for and since. That will make it easier for the test and whatever whenever you're trying to think about when to use this. Okay, so let's practice. Let's open our books. So go to page 188. I'll give you a second to get there. Um, Page 188 looks like this. So take a minute, open your book. All right, so um, we're only going to do this activity A here. It's very simple. All you have to do is read the conversation and pick the correct form. So either the simple past or the present perfect. So I'll give you about 4 minutes to read this conversation. All right, class. So let's go ahead and check. All right. I'm going to read, and as I read, I'm going to give you the answers. So Ashley starts. Hey, Kevin, great shot. You know you're a pretty good tennis player. Have you ever entered any competitions? So this one would be present perfect because competitions is more than one, right? All right. Yes, I have. Uh, we could say did, but we would want to use have here because the question was a present perfect. So usually you want to follow the same grammar form. All right. Kevin says, yes, I have. Actually, I came in second in the senior tournament at our club last year. So in this one, we have the hint here. It says last year, so that's kind of it's not an exact date, but it was happened at a time. He mentions the time, but also uh, he says I came in second in the senior tournament. So there's only one tournament here, so we kind of have two hints to look at. So the one tournament and the time. So Ashley says, "Really? That's great. Did you enjoy it?" So this one would be did because it is only one. It's not many. Kevin says, sure, especially because it was my first attempt. So this would be was because first attempt is only one. It's only one attempt, not many attempts. How about you? Kevin says. Ashley says, oh, I play in a small local league, but I haven't won any competitions or anything. So this would be present perfect because of the word competitions. This is more than one. And then Ashley finishes, I just play for fun to keep fit and healthy. Okay, so we are finished. If you have any questions about any of this, please email me. If you have any problems with the videos, if you have any problems with your attendance for the videos, please email me and I will try to help you out. Okay. And also, I will be putting this PPT up on eClass so you can have it for your exams. I hope this helps and I hope you learned enough. So thank you and have a good day or a good night. All right. Take care. Bye bye.